And joining me now is Jeff Parker from Fruit Juice Australia. The FJA represents processing, converting and packaging companies that produce fruit juice, fruit drinks and fruit cordials. Jeff Parker, welcome to Landline.
Thanks very much, Pip.
Mr Parker, what was your reaction when you heard nearly the entire guava crop was rotting on the ground after that industry had been so stable for 20 years?
Look, as a manufacturing industry, we're sympathetic to the plight of growers who have to let crop rot. It doesn't matter. It's irrespective of whether it's guava or navel growers or whoever it might be. We likewise, as a manufacturing industry, are in a state of contraction, and we're feeling the pinch as well. When consumers turn away from our products, unfortunately that's going to have a downside to those upstream providers. So absolutely feel sympathy for the growers.
Several of those growers were asked to plant trees 5 years ago, and one planted 12,000, and now the fruit's not wanted. I mean, it's hardly a case of farmers failing to read the market or react to changing tastes or price signals, is it?
One of the problems with these types of more exotic types of crops is obviously consumer demand. We know that consumers can tend to jump from, the fruit of the month or the flavour of the month fairly quickly, and that I think is part of the problem with the current guava crop. Is that when consumer demand drops, unfortunately, those key inputs into juices, for example, are also going to suffer.
So what drives your member organisations? Getting the cheapest juice or sourcing Australian juice and pulp from Australian growers?
Our members will respond to consumer demand, full stop. We need to understand as well that there are a number of different juice categories. There's the chilled juices that consumers will readily find in the refrigerated section of the supermarkets. And then there's also what we call the ambient juices, and they're the ones that you find on the supermarket shelves. Obviously the chilled juices are at a higher price point to the ambient, and let's not forget that the ambient juices will continue to compete with a whole range of other non-alcoholic beverages. So juice producers are trying to find or strike that unique balance between giving the consumer what they want and continuing to provide at a price point that will ensure that Australians continue to maintain their thirst for Australian juice.
Well, you talk about changing demand in Australia, but is the high dollar a factor here?
I think as far as growers go, unfortunately, they're probably in the middle of a perfect storm, and certainly the high Australian dollar is a key consideration for that. Not only is it impacting them on cheaper imports being more attractive to manufacturers, but it's obviously also impacting on their ability to get rid of their fruit via export markets as well.
Dave Alderton can import mango pulp half the price of Australian mango pulp. Are you hearing more cases like that where the price difference is massive?
As the Australian dollar continues to soar, that price differential is only going to get greater. One of the challenges that Australian juice producers have is trying to maintain that constant supply of whether it be concentrate or even fresh fruit across the seasons. That's a real challenge for juice manufacturers in trying to continue to meet the supply of juice for Australians who, for the most part, are pretty thirsty for Australian juice.
Last month on Landline we saw pictures of navel oranges being dumped and processors didn't want them. Was this a case of imported concentrate taking the place of Australian oranges?
There is no real correlation between navel oranges being dumped and the reliance on the juice industry from imports from overseas. Navel oranges, for the most part, can't be used to be put into juice because of a high bitter taste within the navel. So the preferred orange for juice is Valencia, and that represents around about 95, possibly even higher of 95% of the juice that is made in Australia, because it is less bitter and more sweeter. One of the other issues with Valencias in particular is that there is a shortfall year in, year out, even taking into account seasonal variations. There's a shortfall year in, year out of 250,000 tonnes of fresh fruit. So the industry needs around about 500,000 tonnes to juice, but local growers can only provide 250,000 tonnes. So for Valencias, that is a shortfall that the industry needs to source from somewhere else to make sure that consumers can continue to get their juice.
Are Australians losing their taste for fruit juice?
We're concerned that Australians are losing their taste for juice. One of our great concerns is that juice has an unjustified poor image, and we think that that is fueled to a large degree by the sugar content of juice. And anti-sugar campaigners tend to be dragging juice down into a bun fight around other sugar-sweetened beverages.
Is this why fruit juice sales are falling?
We think that that's part of the reason why, and probably the main reason why, fruit juice sales are falling. Over the last 2 to 3 years, fruit juice has been declining at around about a rate of sort of anywhere between 2 to 4%, depending on whether you look at the chilled or the ambient categories. That's not just fluctuations in disposable income for houses or what families can spend on the groceries, but rather a sustained campaign by anti-juice campaigners or advocates to try and turn people away from juice. That's puzzling to us as a juice industry.
What can you do about this negative view of fruit juice?
Look, Fruit Juice Australia, in conjunction with its key members, are getting on the front foot. We are just about to undertake a 3-year campaign that's costing around about $1 million, and that is to increase the awareness of the health benefits of 100% juice. Not only that, we're also talking to the nutritionists and the academics and the dietitians, even the dentists, who are quick to try and turn people away from juice. We're also working with our members, obviously, in conjunction with government around regulations and also truth in labelling. We're also working with the retailers, and we're also, not least of which, have started to work more closely with key grower associations and to open up that dialogue and to see where both growers and juice manufacturers can commit to crop in future years.
Jeff Parker, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.